Hi guys and welcome back. Today I am working on an ink painting and it is going to have a pop of color. I'm really excited on my plans for this piece and how it turns out because I know how it turns out, but I loved working on this one and it's been a while since I've done this kind of color hierarchy where I have a grayscale painting and then a pop of color. And I think that the only other time I've done something like this has been in past Inktober's where I've done a black and white image and then had like gold paint or gold foil on top to add a little bit of extra interest. So I don't think I've ever quite done it in this kind of form where I have this really saturated bright color that's bringing the eye in and giving the whole piece a little bit more life and interest to it. I didn't know how I was going to feel at the end. I knew that I wasn't going to dislike it, I should say, but I didn't know how much I was going to like this color palette, how much I was going to enjoy working on this. And a quick reminder, my Silver Tears Kickstarter is live right now. I think we're almost halfway through it and we're almost to the first stretch goal. So we've been funded. It's going to happen. I'm really, really grateful for everyone who's supported it so far. But the artwork that I'm working on today, she is available in the top tier if you want to get the original painting, and the artwork from today is actually going to be for a tote bag. So there's a tote bag add-on. So once you select your tier over on Kickstarter, you can click to add on the tote bag and get it. I'm really excited to do a tote bag for the first time. That's actually what this design was for. And there's a little bit of compositional play with this one. So the tote bag, the final size is more square. It's not exactly square, but it's pretty close. And I prefer to do all my originals in an easily frameable size. I like to make it easy for anyone who is going to purchase my original. I didn't even have a panel for one that was that size or that ratio. So I chose to actually do it at an 11 by 14. So it's long, it's a rectangle piece. And then I added more compositional flow to the bottom of this piece. And I'm really happy with that. I think it actually worked out pretty well for it being balanced in the original, but also filling up the space of the tote bag really well. So that was my consideration as I was sketching it, is that it needed to work within both parameters. I needed to be able to crop it down and have it look good, but I also could not have it be imbalanced in the actual painted version. Anyways, all that to say, there is a link down in the description that will take you over to my Kickstarter. I forgot to mention that. So if you did want to support the Kickstarter, if you wanted to get a tiny original, a book with all the originals, this tote bag, this original, there's lots of goodies over there. So yes, go check that out. The link in the description. Let's get back to talking about this painting. So overall, it's very similar to the last piece that I showed here on YouTube. And that's the cover for the Silver Tears book. And in that one, I talked about how it was exactly the same methods and tools that I used in my tiny originals. And then I just blew it up and made it much larger, and how that was a really fun and challenging shift. And this is, again, basically that same approach. The first half is very similar. It's me using pencils for the line work and the tiniest bit of shading. I actually think that I maybe omitted all of that in this final piece. I learned my lesson in the last one, and that was that adding a little bit of shading with the pencil, it didn't add to the piece, but it was something that I kind of had to adapt to as I was using the ink washes. So I omitted that entirely, and I only focused on the lines being in pencil. And something that I've learned over and over again with working on this project is that if I layer the pencil down first and then apply all of the ink washes that I need, that pencil will remain matte. But if I add pencil work on top of almost any level of ink wash, it will actually get really shiny, and that really bothers me. The idea of looking at a piece from an angle and then it changes the impact, the look of it. It's no longer a dark line, it's lit up. So that was something that I was really keeping in mind for these larger final pieces, is I made sure that I got the lines as close to what I thought I would want the finals to look like as I could. And I think for the most part, I got it the way that I wanted. It's always a little bit of a struggle because I find that I like to give and take with the line work as I work on the piece. And I haven't done this like apply the line work, then apply color or ink wash on top of it in a long time, where it's almost like a coloring book that I've made for myself. I've been working in a way where I add the line work afterwards, and I definitely prefer that. I prefer being a little bit more finesse with it, but that is what I did with this piece. I made sure that I got the line work crisp and clean and where I wanted it first before I started adding the ink wash. And I am so sad. I have this little I have this little like daisy shaped palette that has got me through probably 5 Inktober's. I love it. I always pull it out for my ink work. I have one well that's like caked on ink from all the excess ink that's in there, and then the rest are used for my ink washes. And my cat knocked it off of my desk when I was not in there, and now I have them in halves, so I will probably try to glue it because I just feel so sentimentally attached to it, and I love using it for when I'm doing ink wash. I love it because I only use it with my black and white artwork, my ink wash artwork, so I know that there's not a hint of color in any of those wells. I actually really prefer keeping things a little bit separate when I am working in grayscale for a larger project like this. So I have that palette that I use, and then I keep all of my black and white brushes in a black and white brush roll, so it's separate, so I can pull it out and use it, and I know that if there's any remaining ink particles in it, it's going to be black and it's going to blend into the piece. Whereas my other brushes, even if I clean them, there's still a chance that there's a little bit of color left over, or that I put it in the wrong jar and it's actually still dirty. For these, when I started off, I made sure to wash them very, very thoroughly before I started using them with my black and white work, so that I knew they were as clean as possible. I did use masking fluid on this piece, and I know I've talked about this plenty, but I have such a love-hate relationship with it. It has so many flaws with the way that it leaves the paper, the state that it's in, and I hate applying it. It's one of my least favorite steps. It's so tedious. It's the bane of my existence. It takes so much longer than it seems like it will. But the end result, I find I'm always happier that I did it. It allows me to get much more expressive with these textural backgrounds, and I can spend a lot more time adding and dabbing away and building up these smaller textures and then larger textures. It's a much more enjoyable experience when I can get to whatever I did not mask off. So I think in general, I do prefer doing it still. I wish there was the perfect masking fluid that didn't have all of these flaws that I have with it, but I have not found one yet. It's worth it most of the time. So I did end up using it on the ribs and the butterflies, the moths, and then I removed them partway through the background process, and then I was able to work on just cleaning up the edges. That's one of the issues I've had with it too, is that I find it's really hard to get precise clean edges to the masking fluid, so I will mask it off, but then oftentimes I'll have to come back in and clean up the edges anyways. But that worked great for this one because it was so textured, so it didn't stand out as like in opposition of a smooth wash. Then it was time to paint the moths pink. I was so excited for this step. This project, Silver Tears, it's if you've looked at it much, it's basically 99% black and white. So this was my opportunity to incorporate a little bit of color while still keeping it flowing with all of the other pieces within the project. And that was because it was going to be on a tote bag. So it was a separate product from the other pieces, as in it would be viewed and used separately. It needed to blend, obviously. I wanted it to blend with the project to feel like it belonged with it, but it was an opportunity to add a little bit of color, and I was really looking forward to it. I did find that I learned a lot about using gouache with painting these moths. I use gouache very often in my watercolor pieces, but I usually use it fairly opaquely as like the line work method, but I don't often use it as the main paint that I use. And I think I'd like to change that. It was really pleasant to build up the layers and watch as these semi-transparent and then opaque and then more and more opaque layers build up, so that it became something more and more substantial and more guided as I worked on it. It definitely is reaffirming my desire to work in more opaque paints in the near future, because there is something really just addictive of watching the give and take of light and dark while I'm working on a piece. And with most watercolors, you only can make it darker essentially. So I just loved this. It felt like magic, adding in the highlights and watching these moths transform as I was working on it. It definitely opened my eyes to some of the techniques that I'd like to explore in the next few pieces that I work on. And this piece in particular, I feel like this happens in almost all of my pieces, but this one, it just looks so much better in person than I've been able to capture. And I think that that's kind of twofold. I think that original art just always looks better in person when you can see the subtleties and the transparency of the paint. But I also think that I need to learn how to use my camera better, use the tools that I do have so that I can capture these images better, so that I can show them to the world in a better light. Where this one, it's just in person, you can see the subtlety of the paper and that very soft paper texture, and it's just really pretty. I just love that texture of it. It has almost this like dry matte texture. I don't know, it looks really good in person, and I love that. So, good reminder of other skills that are tangential to being an artist that I would really like to develop. And then finally, I added these pink drips. I wanted to be very sure about where it was going, so it looks very organic, but I sketched it out in a Photoshop mock-up of it so that I can make sure that it wasn't going totally the wrong direction, that it didn't have the balance that I was looking for. So I did sketch that out, and then I had that image on my phone while I painted the basic flow of where the drips would be coming from. I was on the fence whether I wanted to add them or not, but ultimately I'm glad that I did. It adds a little bit more balance to the piece, and it helps the eye get guided downward and then back up. And I also did end up adding another smaller moth on the left side of her rib cage, just again to keep the eye flowing through the piece. And there is a link in the description that'll take you to my Silver Tears Kickstarter. I loved working on this project. It was really, truly a passion project for me, and I'm just so grateful for everyone who's backed it so far. So again, there is that link if you want to go check it out, if you want to back it. And I'll have the tote bag add-on. So if you want this image as a tote bag, you can select a tier and then select the add-on with the tote bag. Or you can get the original piece, which is still available in the top tier over on the Kickstarter. So again, link in the description. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me, for following along as I work on this project. I am so excited to start working on the next project. That's one of the best things about finishing a project or putting it out into the world, is that it opens up space for the next new thing. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.